I was doom scrolling this morning.
Oh, it's a dangerous game.
I know it's a terrible habit, don't judge me. But I realized something that was really stressing me out.
What was it?
Every single headline, every tweet, every single hot take was demanding that I choose, Is this food good or bad? Is this person a hero or a villain?
Are you with us or against us?
Exactly. It was just relentless.
It's exhausting. But it's also, completely biological. Your brain hates ambiguity. It's an efficiency machine.
Efficiency, it feels like anxiety.
Well, think about it from a survival standpoint. You don't want to have a big philosophical debate about whether that shadow over there is a lion or a funny-looking rock.
Right. No, you want a simple switch. Safe or unsafe. Run.
Exactly. Either or is a survival tool. It's the fastest way to process a potential threat.
But that's the problem, isn't it? And this is what I really wanted to get into with the research we're looking at today. We're not running from lions anymore. But we are still using that same old on-off switch to navigate this incredibly complex world. And the sources we've got today argue it's not just making us anxious, it's making us, well... Blind, yeah. It's limiting our entire cognitive map.
And that brings us right to the heart of today's deep dive. Holism.
Okay, and let's pause right there. Because when you say holism, a lot of people are immediately going to think...
crystals and energy vibes.
Exactly. Chakras and good vibes.
And we need to be very clear. That is absolutely not what we're talking about today. This is not the woo-woo deep dive. The sources we're pulling from, especially these papers on beyond binary logic, they're rigorous. We're in the world of logic, mathematics, and structural reasoning.
So the mission today is to try and understand something that honestly sounds impossible. How can two totally opposite things be true at the exact same time?
And not in a chaotic, anything goes kind of way.
No, I mean in a structured, almost architectural way.
That's the key. We call it integration. It's the capacity to hold tension without forcing one side to win.
Coexistence without collapse. I love that phrase from the notes. But come on, that sounds like a recipe for a massive headache. How can something be and not be without my brain just short-circuiting?
Well, to get there, we first have to understand the system we're all stuck in. Let's call it the villain of the story.
And that would be?
Classical binary logic.
The old to be or not to be.
Precisely. Classical logic is built on something called the law of non-contradiction. It demands that a thing is either X or it is not X, full stop.
It forces a choice.
It forces a choice. You're either in this room or you are not in this room. You cannot be both.
Which, for most physical things, makes total sense. If I say my keys are on the table, they're either there or they aren't. I can't say they're there and D, not there.
Right. For keys and tables, it works perfectly. But the sources argue that this binary logic it completely breaks down when you run into things like self-reference or identity. Have you heard of the liar's paradox?
Vaguely. Remind me.
It's a very simple sentence.
Yeah.
This sentence is false.
This sentence is false.
Okay, now just try to apply that binary logic. Is that statement true or is it false?
Okay, so if it's true, then what it says is true, which means it has to be false.
Right.
But wait, okay, so if the sentence is false, then what it's saying is false, which means it has to be true.
And there's the loop.
Ugh, my head. It's an infinite loop. It just breaks.
It breaks. Classical logic sees that and calls it an error. It shuts down. But the text we're looking at introduces pair-consistent logic.
Okay.
It's a logical system designed specifically to allow for contradictions without the whole argument collapsing.
So it doesn't see the contradiction as a failure.
Not at all. It sees it as information. It says, aha, we found a point where the structure is folding in on itself. Pair-consistent logic and another framework they mentioned called dialetheism, they formally allow opposing ideas to coexist.
Dialetheism. That's a mouthful. But what does that mean in plain English?
It means that identity isn't some fixed sticker you just slap on things. Holism argues that your identity is a context-dependent structural condition.
Okay, that sounds like academic jargon. Translate that for me.
It just means who you are is defined by your relationships.
Yeah.
And you have multiple relationships at the same time. Let me ask you this. Are you a father?
I am.
Are you a son?
Also, yes.
So, in the relational context of your child, you are father. But in the context of your own parent, you are son which is not father.
Okay, I see. So I am father and not father at the exact same time.
Exactly. It's not a contradiction because those descriptions come from different relational frames that are both operating at once.
So holding both ideas doesn't break the logic. It just means you have a more complex model.
A model that actually reflects the complexity of reality. It's not that the logic is broken, it's that reality is multi-layered.
I like that. We're upgrading our mental software from a basic calculator to like a 3D modeling program.
That is a perfect analogy. And it leads us right into the next part of this, moving from pure logic to epistemology.
Which is the fancy word for how we know what we know.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting, especially with the idea of negation.
Negation? Just saying no.
Right. In our normal binary thinking, if I say, this is not a chair, I'm just flipping a switch. I'm pointing out an absence. But in holistic reasoning, negation is structural.
What do you mean structural?
The sources talk about a concept called apophatic reasoning. Now, it's often used in theology, but they apply it here purely logically.
Apophatic, that's when you define something by saying what it's not, right?
Yes, but it's not just a process of elimination. It's not like playing Guess Who, where you go, it's not a man, it's not wearing glasses, so it must be Susan.
Okay, so how is it different?
The source uses this incredible phrase. It calls it an excess affirmation beyond determination.
Whoa. Okay. Excess affirmation. Break that down.
Okay, think about it like this. Imagine you see the most incredible, life-changing sunset of your life. The sky's on fire.
Got it.
And someone asks you, was it orange? What do you say?
I'd say no. I mean, yes, it had orange in it, but just saying orange feels like an insult. It's too small. It puts it in a tiny box.
Exactly. By saying it was not orange, you're not saying the color was absent. You're saying the reality of it was too big for the category orange. You are negating the limit, not the thing itself.
So by saying what it's not, you're actually pointing to something much bigger.
Precisely. You're breaking the category to let the meaning expand. The source says this negation is part of the architecture of reasoning. It's how we clear the space to see the whole.
This completely changes how I think about knowledge. I always thought of it as, collecting facts, like putting shiny rocks in a bag. I either have the rock or I don't.
And these sources would say that's a flawed model. They describe knowledge as an ongoing structural reconstruction.
Reconstruction. So I'm constantly building it and then tearing it down again.
It's a loop, an iterative loop of perception, then judgment, then interpretation, which changes your next perception. You don't possess the truth. You're in a state of dynamic alignment with it.
It's like riding a bicycle. You're not just balanced in a static way. You're in a constant state of balancing. The movement is the balance.
Yes. And this brings us to the idea of the holarchy.
Ah, right. Systems theory. This was in the dense part of the reading.
It's dense, but it's crucial. A holarchy is just a system of holons. And a holon is something that is simultaneously a whole thing in itself and a part of something bigger.
Like a single cell in my body.
Perfect example. A cell is a whole, complete system. It has its own life, but it's also just one tiny part of your heart tissue.
And the heart is a whole organ, but it's also a part of my circulatory system.
And you're a whole person, but a part of a family, a community, a society. You can't understand the cell by only looking at the cell or by only looking at the body. You have to see it in its nested relational contexts.
So knowledge isn't about picking which level is the right one to look at.
Exactly. It's not about choosing is the part important or is the whole important. Holism is seeing the entire relational field that gives meaning to all the parts at once.
Okay, my brain is stretching, but I'm with you. The thing is, I need a visual. I need a map for this. Because integration still feels a bit like, just throwing everything into a big soup.
It is definitely not a soup. It's highly structured. And the next source gives us that map. It's called the orthogonal intersection.
Orthogonal, that's a geometry word, right? Things meeting at a right angle.
It is, like a T-shape or a cross. And this gives us the central mantra for holism. If you remember one thing, remember this. Holism is A-N-D, not O-R.
And not O-R. Got it.
So the source asks us to visualize two planes of meaning. First, picture a horizontal line.
Okay, flat line. What's on it?
That's our grounded material existence. Social interactions, empirical data, the physical world. It's traffic, emails, passing the salt at the dinner table.
The day-to-day stuff. The world I can touch and measure.
Exactly. Now, picture a vertical line cutting straight through the middle of that horizontal one.
So like a plus sign.
Precisely. And that vertical line represents the plane of abstraction. Metaphysics, meaning causality, transcendence. It's the why, behind the what.
So we live on the horizontal plane of what, but we find meaning on the vertical plane of why.
And this is where the source uses the symbol of the cross. And it's really clear it's not using it as a religious icon, but as a structural map.
A map of where these two dimensions intersect.
It's the point where embodied existence, the horizontal, and metaphysical orientation, the vertical, are held together simultaneously.
So you're not just a machine moving through the material world, and you're not just an idea floating in the clouds. You're at the intersection.
That is the definition of holistic coherence. And to really drive this home, the source uses that mind-bending example, the paradox of the divine being everywhere and nowhere.
Yes, let's do this, because I've always heard that and thought it was just poetic nonsense. Make up your mind. If my keys are everywhere, great. If they're nowhere, I have a problem. How can it be both?
In the horizontal world of keys, it's a total contradiction. But if you map it onto these two axes, they become what the text calls parallel articulations.
Meaning?
Ubiquity, being everywhere, is a statement about the horizontal plane. It means there is no place in material existence where this presence is absent.
Okay, so it's a statement about presence.
Yes. But nowhere is a statement about the vertical plane. It describes non-containment. It means you cannot put it in a box. It has no where because it isn't an object that can be contained.
Okay, I get it. So everywhere is answering the question, where is it present? And nowhere is answering the question, what contains it?
They're not answering the same question. They're operating on different dimensions of understanding.
So it's not a contradiction. It's a more complete dimensional description.
It's a holistic description. The source gives another quick example. Inside the self and inside others.
Which we usually see as competition. If I have the apple, you can't have it.
Right, that's a horizontal material problem.
Mm-hmm.
But in this framework, it's not about spatial competition. It's about relational participation.
Kind of like the internet. The internet is in my phone and it's in your phone. Me having it doesn't take it away from you.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And the key here is that our binary thinking, that duality, it slices these things in half. It forces you to choose. Is it internal or external? Is it here or there? Holism keeps the dimensional integrity. It holds them in parallel.
It sustains that tension.
It sustains multidimensional coherence without forcing a binary resolution. And this is the crucial point. Holism does not decide between the positions.
It doesn't pick a winner.
It doesn't reconcile them into some mushy compromise either.
Yeah.
It recognizes that a relation can be opposed and not opposed at the same time, because these descriptions are coming from two different dimensions.
It allows coexistence without collapse.
Exactly. And if you think about why this matters so much right now, we are drowning in information. We have conflicting narrative, conflicting data all day, every day.
And our first instinct, like we said at the beginning, is to pick a team. Resolve that tension as fast as possible.
But if you start to apply this holistic logic, you start trying to just eliminate the other side. You start looking for the structure that allows both things to be true. You start thinking with and, not or.
It's almost like a superpower for navigating the modern world. Instead of getting ripped apart by contradictions, you use them as coordinates.
It's the ultimate critical thinking tool. It allows for that coexistence. And in a world this polarized, that is maybe the most valuable skill we can have.
It really is. It changes how you see conflict. We always want the conflict to end, for the answer to be A or B so we can just relax. But maybe the answer isn't an answer at all. It's a posture.
That's it. Coherence without resolution. The ability to stand in the middle of a complex problem with valid points on both sides and not collapse into choosing one.
So, okay, here's the challenge for everyone listening. Find one conflict in your own life, just one. Could be at work. Do we push for speed or do we push for quality? It could be personal. Do I need freedom or do I need connection?
The classic binaries.
They are. And just notice how you've been exhausting yourself trying to make one win and the other lose. Catch yourself trying to solve the problem by killing one side.
You just stop. Don't solve it.
Yeah, just hold them both. Ask yourself, what's the orthogonal intersection here? Where could both of these things be true, just on different dimensions?
It might feel uncomfortable at first.
It probably will, but it might just be the thing that prevents the whole system from collapsing. And that is where the real work begins.
Well said.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. Go out there and hold that tension.
See you next time.